Today, we check out the new NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Fortnite Donatello, which looks like it jumped straight out of the video game. But something is definitely missing. Yet the question is, does this hold the action figure bag, or is Donnie here still worth adding to your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection? Let's unbox them, take a closer look, and see what dynamic poses we can achieve with it. Now here we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle and Fortnite crossover version of Donatello, and I want to start off by checking out the accessories. First up, we get a pair of alternate gripping hands, which are about as basic as alternate hands can possibly get, but I guess Donnie needs them because otherwise, how exactly is he supposed to hold his weapon? And obviously, it would not be Donatello without his signature bow staff. And as we can see, he does have some nice colored purple wrapping around the center in two different areas of the staff, which gives the staff a little more personality and matches Donnie's overall color scheme really well. Now outside of that, it's pretty much just a basic smooth bow staff. There is no real wood grain sculpted into it, and nor any weathering that makes it feel like Donnie here has actually used it in battle. But it gets the job done. And of course, when Donnie is not using his bow staff, he does need somewhere to store it. So NECA has included this back-mounted staff holder. Now it has the same purple wrapping motif going on that we saw on the bow staff, along with a little bit of the metallic paint on the top and the bottom. And as you can see, there is a slight texture running through the center, which I assume is supposed to give it more of a leather-bound kind of appearance. But overall, it's pretty simplistic. Now it attaches directly to the back of his shell like this, and once the bow staff is inside, it does look pretty good. It keeps everything secure, and it definitely completes Donatello's overall silhouette. Alright, now that we've checked out the accessories, I have to say, pretty disappointed. I mean, NECA's a company that loads up their action figures with a ton of accessories, stuff you didn't even realize was associated with that character. And we got three things. I mean, I spent $35 on this NECA action figure. Now, I see it going for $29.99, which is a lot better, but still, this is ridiculous. And what makes this weirder, this is supposed to be a Fortnite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossover, and we get nothing Fortnite related. No weapons, no loot crate, nothing. I mean, seriously, we get a bow staff, a weapon holder, and a set of alternate hands. I mean, that's it. In fact, I think NECA really blew it here in trying to connect with Fortnite fans, as well as giving NECA collectors their money's worth. Now, I definitely want to check out the articulation and see just how much movement we can actually get out of this Donatello. Starting up here at the head, we get a nice full 360 rotation with some good side-to-side movement, looking pretty solid there. He can also look up and down, and honestly, this isn't too bad. Now, he's not looking directly up at the sky, but he still look up enough so he can see where the battle bus is coming from. There's also a decent amount of head tilt, so you can give him some personality in those poses instead of him constantly staring straight ahead like he's waiting for the game to finish loading. Now, moving down to the shoulders, we do have a nice full 360-degree rotation. There's also swivel right here at the bicep area, followed by a little bit of movement here at the elbow. Now, this is supposed to be a double jointed elbow, but this is as far as you're going to get with the movement, because that rubberized piece of armor here starts to pinch against the arm and stops the articulation before you get that double articulation movement. Now, Donatello's wrist monitor here is actually a separate loose accessory. As you can see, it can rotate freely around the arm, which is nice, as you can position it wherever it looks best. Now, at the wrist area, you get a full 360 rotation, along with a hinge that bends inwards and slightly outwards some. And if you want, you can remove the hand and slide the monitor completely off the wrist if you don't want to include it in your posing sector. Now, moving on to the torso here, there is articulation right here in the middle that gives us a nice full 360-degree rotation. But of course, you're probably not going to twist Donatello completely around like this, unless you get some kind of weird Fortnite lag spike that just renders out the model completely whacked out. Now, the shell here is loose, but that probably is intentional because it probably allows the torso to move around freely as well as the legs, so they don't get locked up. And after moving the legs, Donatello can really hit an impressive split, as you can see. And there's also this interesting drop down hip feature. When I pull the legs downward, the hips extend from the body. Now it does leave a noticeable gap right here, and it's not always going to look the cleanest, but I think it gives the legs a little more clearance to help with some of the higher kick posing. Speaking of kicking, the legs can move forward really well, as also backwards a decent amount. You also get some really good rotation on the legs right here at the hip area. Now at the knees, once again, that's supposed to be a double jointed setup, but just like in the elbow area, that knee armor is going to limit the articulation here. And finally, the feet. We have some nice ankle rocking going on, along with movement downwards and upward. Now overall, the articulation is fairly basic, and some of the armor pieces do limit the articulation more than I would have liked on the figure. But I think there's still enough movement here to get the job done, but I do think Donatello should be able to pull off plenty of good dynamic action poses here. Now when it comes to size, NECA lists Donatello as a 7-inch scale action figure. And standing him up here, he definitely fits into that larger NECA style scale. He has a nice amount of height to him, but because of the wider turtle body shell and those massive legs, he also has a good amount of presence when you actually have him standing in front of you. But knowing how tall this action figure is only going to tell us a part of the story, because what really matters is going to see how he looks mixed in with the rest of your collection. So, on to my favorite part, the shelf test. And here he is on the shelf with those bright Fortnite colors really helping Donatello here pop and stand out. Between the lighter green skin, the purple accents, and his general turtle build, he does have a lot of presence even in a basic pose. And once you have him in an action pose with this bow staff, he's definitely going to stand out in anyone's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection or anyone's action figure collection, in my opinion. Now taking a closer look at the details on the Donatello action figure, the first thing I really like is just how solid this action figure feels in hand. There's a nice weight to him, and nothing about this figure feels cheap or hollow. Right away, you can definitely see that the colors are extremely bright, and that's probably because this is the Fortnite version of the Ninja Turtle here. That he isn't going to use that old school Donatello brownish green color that we saw back in the 80s. Now this shade is going to be much more vibrant, and I understand why. It probably helps him stand out a lot inside the Fortnite video game, because you're not going to get subtle colors in that video game. Now I absolutely love the headphone design around his head. These things look awesome, and they add a lot of that Fortnite inspired design to it. And with the headphones, part of me actually does wish they could be removed, but honestly, if they did, I would have probably lost them 5 minutes after taking them off. You get the classic purple bandana wrapping around his head, and the ending to it is fairly short and ties off really nicely on the back end. And I really like the fact with the Ninja Turtles here, they went with the pupilless white eyes. It gives Donnie a much more intense and confident expression, in my opinion. And is this just me, or does Donatello right here, his mouth has a slight grin, giving him a very kind of cocky appearance, which honestly I really like for this character. I mean, this is Donatello. He is the smartest turtle in the room, and he knows it. Heck, he's probably the smartest character on Fortnite. Now, the muscle definition is everywhere on this character. Great on the arms, but I think it's even more noticeable down here on the legs. Just look at these calves. My goodness, Donatello apparently never skips leg days in his entire life. These things are a massive unit. Wow. And honestly, I'm surprised they didn't sculpt any veins throughout them. That's probably because there are no veins showing on the Fortnite version. And Donatello here is showing off some serious chesticles right here, along with a full 6-pack sculpted on the front of his turtle body, because apparently fighting the Foot Clan and other players on Fortnite gives one heck of a workout routine. Now the turtle shell on this is nicely sculptured, has great texture and paintwork throughout it. There appears to be a light wash over the surface with a mixture of darker browns, blacks, and some tan coloring setting into the sculpt, which I think really helps bring out the shell pattern. Now we also have these great leather straps running across the body from the front and the back. It's made out of soft plastic, which is nice because it gives the torso a little bit more room to move, as well as the back shell. And Donnie here, he has plenty of packs and pouches spread throughout the design, and there's surprisingly a lot of details packed into them. You can see metallic buckles, sculpted stitching in different textures across each of these different paths. And at the center of his belt, we have a lot of those metallic bandings along with the circular purple G symbol for Donatello. Classic. All you would have is the purple mask, the bow staff, and giant headphones, and hopefully that'd be enough to tell you that this is Donatello. Now we have the white bandages on the forearms and feet area, and they look really good. Now, NECA could have easily just painted these bright white and called it a day, but instead, they added a dark wash over the wrapping, which cuts down on the harshness of the white and gives these bandages a much rougher, dirtier, and more battle-worn appearance, which I love for this figure. Now, what I really like are these battle-damaged armor coverings over the elbows. The armor looks like it's homemade, like Donatello built it himself out of scrap metal, but has a kind of a slight futuristic Fortnite style to them. You can see these small grooves, cuts, and scratches, and some dents sculpted into the surface, which keeps everything from not looking too clean. And they did this same kind of battle damage on the knee pads as well. They appear to be leather bound around the legs with metallic armor plating positioned just across the front for protection, because where else would they be? And again, they have noticeable scratch marks along the side, while the damage on the opposite knee is placed differently, so it gives them a uniqueness to them both. Throughout the body on the green skin, we have these darker spots across the arm and the legs. And there also appears to be some darker green airbrushing around the muscles, which helps add a depth of definition that really makes these sculpted muscles stand out even more. And one of my favorite details on this action figure is the wrist monitor. It looks very high-techy, feels completely appropriate for Donatello, and I think it's actually kind of a pretty cool Fortnite-inspired detail, which I'm sure helps him track down other players so he could completely embarrass them with some bow staff fighting skills. Overall, this is still a very recognizable and classic-looking Donatello, but with enough Fortnite styling to it to make him feel different enough than your usual Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles you would probably have in your collection. So after spending some time with this Fortnite version of Donatello, I actually think NECA did a pretty good job on the figure itself. Now the sculpt looks great, the brighter Fortnite colors help him stand out, and I do really like the little details throughout the armor, bandages, pouches, headphones, and especially the wrist monitor. He still looks unmistakably like Donatello, but there's enough of that Fortnite style mixed in there to make him feel different from other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures already out there. Now the articulation is not perfect. Some of the armor definitely gets in the way, especially around the elbows and knees, but there was still enough movement in here to get Donnie into some pretty fun dynamic poses. But again, my biggest issue with this release is still the accessories. For spending $35, which I did at first for this NECA figure, getting just a bow staff, the holder, and a set of alternate hands just feels really light, especially from a company that normally packs its action figures with a bunch of extras. And for something that is supposed to be targeting Fortnite fans, for them not to include any Fortnite weapons, harvesting tools, or even a small game-related accessories feels like they missed such a great opportunity to connect to a Fortnite fan. Again, I really like this figure in itself. I just wish NECA would have gone the extra step and made the Fortnite side of this crossover feel more complete. But let me know what you think. Is this Donatello worth adding to your collection? Or are the missing accessories for the price of this action figure enough to make you pass? Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this review, I've got plenty more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figure reviews waiting just for you. Go ahead, click it right here to check them all out. Well, this is Adam with Nerd Amazing, and I'll see you next time.